completing a decade since its inception, and we have come a long way from MLSU campus to Balicha, the campus amidst Aravallis. Our alumni have always been very special to us, and you are the reason the Institute stands tall with its head held high. To strengthen this everlasting bond and to add spark to it, we have come up with Kaleidoscope, the alumni talk show. In this show, we'll be getting to know more about our alumni while we make them walk through their memory lane. So, here we go with our first episode. And what would have been better than starting it with the one who has served as VP of Alumni Association at IIMU, Mr. Venkatesh Thouti. He is currently the CEO of Ajara Hospitals.
Thanks, Akanksha. Thanks for having me. Uh, I'm all excited to take your questions and give it a best shot.
Yeah. So when we go and check Venky's LinkedIn profile, it's all so reputed profile with all that CEO mark and everything. But that's all the LinkedIn bios we do see, and that's visible to everyone. But then there is always a story hidden to us, and that is the other side of us, and that belongs to only us. So, to know more about that side of Venki, we are here with this exciting conversation. We'll start with our first segment. I'll be shooting some random questions around your life, and you have to be very quick and candid while answering those questions. Can we start? One word to describe what motivated you to get to MBA.
Rather than motivation, it was something that was planned. I couldn't get into IIT, and the next target was MBA. It was rather than mine, it was my brother's dream to get into an IIM. And back then, IIM and MBA from an IIM, we typically think of a CEO. So we started, one day I should become a CEO. That was the goal of dream of my brother, I would say, rather than mine. And since I couldn't get into IIT, I was very much focused into getting into some IIM. So after 3 to 4 years of continuous trial, someday it happened.
Nice. Your most memorable moment from college days?
I would say it's the soapbox that we did for CSA election. That was the first time in IIM Udaipur where we did a elevator pitch. The contestants of Gentech had to do a soapbox. They had to give a elevator pitch about why they have stood for that election and had to take questions. So the Q&A part of it was the most memorable one. That's the first thing comes to my mind. Yeah.
Who was the general secretary at your time?
It was me. I was the first general secretary of IIM Udaipur.
Okay, the first person you met in IIMU?
It's hard to recollect, but I think I've met Sunil and Raghu in Hyderabad before joining IIMU. Okay. There were some city meets that were conducted by our seniors, so those were the two first ones.
Okay. Your favorite faculty from the campus, or like who has taught you, and why is he or she your favorite?
I think it was Professor Sheshadri, and then I think it's Professor Sheshadri.
Okay. And why? What's
because I was more into leadership courses. I was looking into those aspects, and Professor Sheshadri's sessions and the way he teaches, the nuances that helped us introspect and understand ourselves. So that I thought was the most practical course, and also it was more about introspection, which helped us understand who we are. So that was the main reason. It was a great opportunity, I would say. And the other one is Professor Manav Bose and the GRC sessions that he did. And those two courses had a major impact on me.
One word for IIMU journey.
It was truly transformational for me.
I was expecting this.
I keep saying this all the time. I think on multiple platforms I said this, yeah. It was truly transformational for me.
Your views about sacrosanct deadlines, and also, did you miss any of those?
I think I missed a few, but that teaches discipline.
Craziest thing you did at IIMU?
We used to end our day at 3 a.m. by having poha at the Udaipur bus station road, and along with Sunil, I think, and then we used to go to that lake, Buddy Lake, I believe, at around 3 a.m. in the morning. There were some interesting episodes there, which
Some
we could have
things,
avoided, I would say.
yeah. Some things are still the same. We also sleep at 3, 4 around, but then we have only night canteen with us.
Yeah. Back then we had that opportunity to go out, step out actually. And yeah,
One subject you were least interested in.
financial derivatives.
I've heard that it's the toughest subject. I think so.
Under certain circumstances, I had to opt for that course. So
One movie character that you relate to.
I could think of
Or,
none
or,
currently.
or, or you can say Nan because I'm my own hero.
Not really, but at this stage, I couldn't think of any. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll go with the second answer, which I said.
Yeah.
Okay. Profession you would have chosen if not MBA.
I would have been somewhere in the IT field. I would have continued my role as a systems engineer and then gradually progress in the IT side.
So, if a book is written on your life, what would be its title?
Leadership and opportunity to inspire.
Best thing that happened to you in 2020 or maybe recently?
2020, without a doubt, selection as Chief Executive Officer at Ajara Hospitals. I think that was the pleasant surprise.
We also got to know that you got a girl child in your house.
Yeah.
Congrats.
2021. That's 2021.
Okay. Rank in order of priority: night parties, lectures, group studies, sunrise, sunset views, and lake trips.
Lake trips, sunrise, sunset. And then what was the third option? Last comes the lectures.
Okay. Night parties and group studies.
Group studies followed by night parties. And then comes lectures.
Okay. Okay. So now there are questions of this or that. So startup or MNC.
Startup.
Okay. Partyholic or workaholic.
Workaholic, I would say.
Okay. I'll be sharing something at the end of this episode. Night owl or morning person.
Morning person.
And so is sunrise your first priority.
Yeah. The Fateh Sagar actually is Fateh Sagar. That was we've spent quite most of our batchmates. We spent quite some time there. Even both sunrise, sunset, late nights, around even 3 a.m. Most of us we spend time there. I'm sure Deepankar, whenever he listens to this, we spend there at around 3 a.m. there at Fateh Sagar. Many of us actually. Whenever we couldn't, whenever a placement interview when it doesn't go well, the next day morning 3 a.m. we used to be there at Fateh Sagar.
Nice. So we have come to end of this first segment, and we'll follow this by second segment, which is what's the story behind. So in this, I'll be sharing with you some photographs, and you have to just tell me what was the story behind those photographs when those photographs were clicked. So, Venki, can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This was the first CSA of IIM Udaipur, the entire team.
okay. So can you just introduce all of them?
Okay. So to the left of me, actually, is it left or right? Yes, left. She's Saumya, and then it's Vikas, and on top of Vikas, that's Samir, Prashant, and then it's Parikshit. Then it is
Okay.
his name.
Okay.
Piyush. That's Piyush.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sure he will drop a message now.
Okay, next. Yeah, what was that deep
Ah,
thought?
this was right after that plantation drive, and after wearing the Prayatna T-shirt.
Okay.
I think.
And this one.
Rather than this pick, I would talk about Adish, who is to the right of me. We were participating in this event. It's like a treasure hunt kind of a program event where we failed like anything, and Adish was so upset having me in his team. So as part of that treasure hunt program, we had to eat some pani puris at some
Okay.
place in Udaipur.
Oh.
I still remember how upset Adish was. This was in Dubai.
Yeah, so this is what I was supposed to say when I said workaholic or partyholic.
So we were just posing with it.
So that was the second segment. What's the story behind? And before we call it a day, we would love you to share some advice and some wisdom words with us. So, like once you were a student like us, giving interviews and you know talking about your career objectives, and now you are at the position which many of us dream for. So, what's the change in the perspective and that one pro tip you would give to all of us in the current batch?
Sure. There's only one thing that I always mention whenever I get an opportunity to talk to all this any batch. I say that IMU is a great platform to experiment.
Yeah.
The cost of failure there is zero. You only learn whether you succeed or fail. So use that platform to experiment, uh, beat your ideas through different clubs and committees, or whether you got any unique idea, use the incubation center and try different things in those 2 years is what I would say. And academics is definitely an important part of the overall 2 year program, but there's a lot uh, other than that. And the placement process is important, and there's much that you would learn after the placement process once you get into the industry. And there are a lot of ways you can switch. You would discover yourself after the placement process as well. So there's not one need not worry too much about the placement process if they don't get into a particular XYZ company. That's the only advice that I would give. And academics, I think I'm not the right person to comment on that. But otherwise, I think you have to make the best of those 2 years journey and not regret wasting any time on some useless and frivolous things, and worrying about frivolous things rather than I would say anything else.
Thanks. Thank you, Venki. So it was an amazing conversation with you. I hope you also enjoyed because I enjoyed a lot. I believe you must have had a reflection of colors of your life through our kaleidoscope. Thank you, Venki. Thank you for being with us.